Not gonna lie, I could probably sit here and watch this TV all day long, except I can't. See, the problem here is that instead of shipping the TV to the reviewer, LG decided to ship the reviewers to the TV, which means I got a plane to catch. We got to get through this quickly, so let's not waste any time and get right down to it. Hey everybody, I'm Caleb Dennison for Digital Trends, and we are, of course, checking out the new LG 8K OLED TV, 88 inches of 8K OLED badassery. And this is not the first time we've seen this TV. It originally debuted at IFA 2018, again at CES 2019, and then most recently, just a few weeks ago, at IFA 2019, where the product finally became a product. It emerged from prototype to something that you could actually buy. $40,000, folks. That's a hefty chunk of change for a pretty advanced piece of equipment. So we're going to take a look at 8K, whether it's really valuable here, and how much of the amazing picture quality that we're seeing here is really due to OLED rather than resolution. And what does true 8K mean? Well, we're going to explore a little bit of that too. So let's go. Before we get to some picture quality stuff, I want to take a look at the aesthetic of the TV, what this looks like in your room when you get it there. Normally we would cover that in an unboxing, but we didn't get to unbox this guy. It was done before we got here. So what you see is pretty much what you get. You get the TV on this stand. Now, LG does say technically you can wall mount this TV. It's possible, but they also say it's not a very elegant solution. They don't recommend it. They don't even really talk about it. So what you see is what you get. You get the TV on top of the stand. Now, there is some electronics packed down into this stand, and there's also a supplemental box I'll show you in a few minutes. But perhaps the most functional part of the stand is actually how it handles the speaker system. So there are a total of 8 drivers in here representing 3 channels and 2 subwoofer channels. And it routes the sound down through the stand. And then if you take a look underneath the top plate of the stand, you'll see that there are some waveguides there. So it's basically funneling that sound out at you. And even though I don't feel like the sound quality of a TV like this is that important, more than likely you're putting a really nice sound system around this thing. I will say that it's decent. I mean, it better be for 40 grand. It's not, you know, blockbuster quality sound, but it does sound very full, and it does seem to have a good amount of presence. It doesn't seem like the speakers are firing down towards the ground. I mentioned a little black box earlier. This would be that box, and its job right now is to do something that the chipset inside the TV can't do, and that is decode the 8K native footage that we're looking at right now. This is necessary for very specific situations. It's just worth pointing out that the TV as it is now is not able to decode this USB thumb drive full of really great 8K content. Overall, I mean, the TV makes a huge statement in the room, and when it's on a stand like this, you can move off to the side and experience its really thin profile with the typical little bump out in the back for some of the hardware that runs the television. But I mean, look, this is a statement piece, and again, for $40,000, it better be. So we're going to rip through some test patterns that we normally display on televisions when we review them. Starting with this one, you're very familiar. This generally shows the blooming aspect or lack thereof in most OLED cases. Now, what you see on your screen may look like there's actually some blooming, but there's not. So if I cover up this box, what you'll notice is there is a hard stop. There's a very definitive line where there's illuminated pixels and non-illuminated pixels. But the way our eyes work and the way the camera sensor work, it looks like there's a little bit of blooming. That's just kind of a flare effect. So what we see here is what we expect from OLED, which is a perfect level of contrast with pixels on and pixels off being razor sharp. Same with these next 2 test patterns where we have the alternating white and black checkered boxes, no bleed at all. We get nice brightness out of the white areas, perfect blacks in the black areas. We also see really good gradient. The grayscale on this TV looks excellent subjectively. And then again, really smooth motion on this TV, great color saturation. I'll say that out of the box, the TV looks fantastic, but look, if you're gonna spend this kind of money, you definitely wanna hire a professional calibrator to come in and get it exactly where you want it. I mean, it's not a perfect TV. If you go off to the side, you do have excellent viewing angle, but you should expect to see a little bit of color shift, a little bit of magenta over here, a little bit of green over there. But I mean, compared to an LED LCD TV, it's still vastly superior. Okay, so I feel like the big question here is, when it comes to the picture quality of this TV, how much of it is 8K resolution, how much of it is the TV's upscaling, and how much is it just OLED being an awesome display technology? Well, to be honest with you, it's really hard to tell. Let me show you what I mean. So what we've done here is we've recorded the same video clips, once in 8K, which you'll see on the left, and once in 4K, which you should see on your right. And what you'll probably notice is that even when we get really up close on some of these images, it's really hard to tell a difference. There is a little bit of a difference when you get up close in real life. There's a little bit of smearing around the red in this sign in 4K, where it's a little bit cleaner in 8K. The legibility of some of the text is a little bit better on the 8K, but it's not a huge difference, to be honest with you. And I don't think that that's really down to the native resolution of 8K versus 4K in this particular case. I think it speaks more to the LG TV's ability to upscale the 4K content to 8K and make it look very clean, very, very good indeed. I mean, when you've got that much information coming from a 4K Blu-ray, it makes the job a little bit easier. Now, the upscaling process is not as impressive on lower resolution and lower bitrate content. I mean, there's only so much there to work with, but I will say that this TV is on par with all the top dogs in the business when it comes to upscaling that low bitrate content. So I guess what I'm saying is your cable box, your satellite box, it's not gonna just magically transform them into miracle sources of content. It's still gonna look like kind of crappy cable. But, I mean, at a TV size this big, it does a pretty great job. So earlier I asked the question, how much of this TV's magic is 8K resolution and how much of it is just straight up OLED technology looking amazing like OLED does? Well, it turns out you can't separate the two very much. The thing is, since OLED can turn each pixel on and off, that means that it has pretty amazing contrast modulation. That means that it can have a perfectly black pixel right next to a perfectly white pixel, do perfectly straight lines at the pixel level. It's really hard to achieve that with non-OLED technology right now. So in fact, the two are kind of tied together, and I think that's why we're getting such a vivid image that just pops right off the screen. Now, of course, it wouldn't be an 8K TV review if we didn't address the lack of 8K content. Now, would it? Well, it's true. There's really no 8K content out there. What we were watching earlier is on a thumb drive. It was a special cut down from the Spears and Munsell UHD test disc. That's why we were able to bounce between 8K and 4K. But outside of that, there's nowhere to get 8K just yet. Japan is working on a broadcast standard. We won't see that here in the US for quite some time. It's going to require about 80 megabits per second throughput in order to stream 8K. So when are you going to have that available for your Netflix or your Amazon? Probably going to be a little while. And then 8K discs, I don't know that we're necessarily going to see those, although I've been wrong about that stuff before. Bottom line is, even YouTube, where we watch 8K footage, it comes through as 4K because the apps on these TVs aren't able to decode the 8K resolution yet. So what we have to rely on is upscaling. And I will say the upscaling on the TV is excellent. I think once you get up to a size like this, the upscaling really does make a difference. I mean, the only way I could show you is if we had an 88-inch 4K OLED right next to an 88-inch 8K OLED, and guess what? They don't make one of those. So if you want this 88-inch OLED, it's gonna be 8K, and that's gonna have to be okay. Look, some real talk. It's a $40,000 TV. This is for extremely wealthy people, early adopters. LG wants to get this technology out there so that the ecosystem that will feed it can build up. Yeah, it's a little bit early for this stuff, but that doesn't mean it's not exciting. So I'm really, thrilled that I was able to get down here and take a really close look at this TV, put it through its paces. Bottom line is that it's an outstanding television, not something that's liable to land in your living room, but I do like the future that it paves for television going forward. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. What do you think about this 8K business, especially in a monster OLED like this? Leave me a comment in the description below. I love chatting with you guys about this stuff. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when we're coming out with a new video. And of course, visit digitaltrends.com for the latest tech news and reviews.